Having faith in something greater than you. It's not about God. It's about understanding energy. Understanding that it doesn't matter whether you did everything right. Divine intervention will always play a part. One thing that you have to learn, and it's one of the most important things, I believe, on a healing journey and a self-growth journey, is having faith in something greater than you. Having faith in something greater than you is not a faith in God per se. It's a faith that if you show up in the best way that you can, doing healing work, facing your fears where you can, letting go of the things that you need to let go of, you have to have and learn faith that the divine energy source will bring to you and repay you to create a life that it is you deserve. And energy is something that we don't see. You turn on a light, you don't see the energy. But energy exists all around us. Everything is energy. And when we realise that our energy is one of the most vital power sources that we have or is around, and we start to work on our energy by healing, by becoming aware, we start to attract the energy to us. But you have to learn faith that this doesn't have to all be done by you. How many times have you done something knowing that there's bound to be a certain outcome? That's, yeah, if I do that, this will be the outcome. And then by whatever change, that outcome didn't happen. And you're like, but I did everything I thought I was meant to. Because it doesn't work that way. You don't have control over everything. Hence why things happen that are out of your control. Hence why things fall apart and go wrong, and then better things come along. And you're like, but that wasn't meant to happen. I didn't do it that way. Because you only have 50% control. You only have the power to work on your mindset and your energy and work through your healing. The divine source will do the rest. Manifestation comes from this. If you don't trust in source, if you don't learn to trust and have faith and a belief in something greater than you, you will always put pressure on yourself to believe that you are the only one that can do anything. You're the only one that can change anything. And that's overwhelming. Because every time you do something wrong, you'll think, oh, I've done it wrong, I've done it wrong. But it's not about doing every right action. Because we can't do every right action all of the time. Because we have to fail, we have to get things wrong, we have to make mistakes. It's about healing the energy enough to go, I deserve better, want better, need better, my family deserve more, I want to heal. I want to grow. And along my journey, at the beginning of my journey, I said to the divine universe, I said to myself, how am I going to do this? I do not have the first clue of where I'm going to start with my healing. And when I started showing up to a podcast, I would come across another podcast. I would come across a book, a Facebook post. I would become intrigued. And the more I become intrigued and open and aware and ready, well, willing, not ready, the more the divine universe would put things in my path. And as time went on, the more I had faith that actually, as long as I showed up, as long as I showed up to my own life in the best way I could at that time, in whatever unhealed state I was, as long as I showed up to a certain degree and say I'm willing, that the divine, the universe, Mother, Gaia would deliver to me the lessons I needed, the healing I needed, the resources I needed. And she did. And the greatest thing that gets me through anything now is the faith that as long as I show up, everything will be okay. But the difference that you've got to work with is everything being okay doesn't mean that everything's going to be good and perfect. It means that everything you're given, you have to understand why you're given it. Every lesson you have to face, you have to understand the meaning of that lesson. Whether you have to understand the meaning is the lesson, or the meaning is to let go of being defined by the lesson, or the meaning is to accept. Because meaning of lessons is not always to learn from the behaviour, it's learn to let go of how you show up to that lesson. It's to learn to let go of the behaviour that you had with that lesson. It's learn to not show up to that lesson. And what I mean by that is, somebody starts an argument with you, the first part of healing that lesson could be starting to stand your ground. Excuse me, I'm not okay with this. And then as time goes on, you realise standing your ground isn't working. So the second part of the lesson is, can we talk about this, please? I want to communicate what's going on. They still don't want to communicate, it's still the same. The third part of the lesson is, I'm not showing up to this argument no more. So can you understand why the lesson is less about healing it in one go, less about understanding straight away what that lesson is, and more about recognising the lesson comes in stages. But having faith that every time you show up to that lesson in a different way, a more healed way, having faith that that lesson will heal and you will build resilience. Learning to have faith means that you realise you're not alone. You are part of a collective consciousness. You are part of something so much greater than yourself. Because when you believe that you have to do it all alone, you feel alone, you feel overwhelmed, you feel lost. But when you realise that you are connected to humanity, you are connected to sources of people healing, join groups, join other people, work with people like myself, recognise that you are not alone. You are connected by energy, by source. There is a reason why every human experiences lessons so similar. Because those lessons are there to unite us. Because when one person shows up to heal, it heals other people by those people learning from that person. I'm calling for you to learn to have faith. And when you recognise that you are part of something greater, and you do learn to have faith that everything will always work out how it's meant to, no matter how painful, you will start to succumb to your life instead of fighting it. You won't suffer as much with expectations. You will learn more of acceptance and flow. Not acceptance that there isn't anything you can change. Acceptance that right here and now, this is what's happening. How do I face it? Acceptance that there's some things you can change. There's some things you can't. Acceptance that life is happy and life is sad. And you're not here to always change the sadness, but to feel it and release it. And to understand and enjoy the happiness. You are part of something so much greater than you. And learning to have faith in something greater than you will empower you to keep going on the days that you feel alone. Speak to the universe. Ask Divine Source. Bring me on the path that I'm meant to be on. Cross my path with people that can help me. When I started to talking to the universe and I started getting answered, I now will never break my bond with the divine energy and source and higher self and spirit. Because I now know that I am part of something greater. Because no matter what they throw my way, which is difficult, everything has had a meaning of some kind. Or I have been able to find a meaning in every experience. I want you to sit and reflect on this video today and how you feel about starting to believe and find faith. You are part of something greater, my friend. Namaste.